Batman's a terrific hero, but he's only as good a hero as he is surrounded by other terrific supporting characters.
Since Batman's the quiet guy, you know, on that rooftop somewhere, you have to have other characters who are going to sit around and you're actually going to follow them through the story.
Even Batman doesn't operate in a vacuum. And without more human characters around to balance him out, he runs the risk of going completely off the deep end and becoming that which he is fighting, and that's just, you know, a creature that's totally evil.
Sometimes, old friend, I wonder if I'm really doing any good out there.
How can you doubt it? The lives you've saved, the criminals you've brought to justice.
Just as Batman is a mentor father figure to Robin, Alfred has been a mentor and father figure to Bruce Wayne.
It really felt like a father and son relationship, and I think that helped, helped humanize the characters, and it gave a level of maturity to the show.
I'm sure revenge can be deliciously sweet. However, at the moment, he needs a friend. Isn't that what you needed, sir?
Alfred recognized in Bruce this thirst for vengeance and knew that without a guiding hand, Bruce Wayne could become as evil as the creatures he was fighting.
Alfred was that voice of reason that tried to coax him along and tried to help him to move beyond his tragedy.
Looks like trouble at Tarnower Financial, Alfred. I won't be home early after all.
Please don't take this the wrong way, sir, but your goose is cooked.
He was always great for lightening Batman's dark, brooding mood, you know. He could just say some quip or something as Batman's getting ready to jump in the car and go off for the night, you know. And it was just refreshing to have that dry wit.
Ephraim brings that kind of grandfatherly warmth to the character. I mean, he was, you know, stiff upper lip and British and all that, but deep down inside you could tell he was just, you know, full of heart. And, again, that's all praise to Ephraim for that.
Might I suggest, Master Bruce, that you take a break? If you keep pushing yourself like this, you soon won't know your right hand from your left.
Alfred, you're brilliant.
So I've heard.
I mean, this is the guy who is the only one who can talk straight to Batman, but he does it sort of on the slant. He's an observer, and he sees things and brings up things that Bruce might be thinking about or should be thinking about. And he's really important.
Got a new toy, I see.
I figure it might come in handy.
It might get you in trouble with the mayor.
Let me worry about the mayor.
I've always thought of Jim Gordon as a man who is a decent cop at heart and a very compassionate person, yet who finds himself trying to preserve order in probably the worst city on the face of the earth. And yet he has to follow certain rules and regulations, and the only way to preserve order in the city is to break those rules.
Tell Bullock he should add more guards, just to be safe.
Is there anything you don't know about? I only assigned that detail a couple of hours ago. One of these days, I'm gonna nail his feet to the ground.
Commissioner Gordon was kind of like the Frank Miller Batman, Return of the Dark Knight, like really gave the guy like major competence. Like the guy was like a really competent cop. And I think that's pretty much what Bob Hastings, his voice really embodied that, very mature, very fatherly voice.
The bust went down okay?
Yes. Get some rest now.
Gotta keep fighting, never stop. Maybe if I'd been younger, could have been like you. Always wanted to be a hero.
You are a hero, Jim.
Commissioner Gordon often would appreciate the fact that Batman was there because, the crimes were always so huge and the villains so, maniacal that there was no way Commissioner Gordon and his band of police were going to do much about it. So the fact that Batman was there was a relief, and at the same time it caused problems because almost by nature, the fact that he existed, the villains were going to be there, and it just caused problems for Commissioner Gordon.
Hey, where you going? This ain't over yet, outlaw! You hear me? You're going down for this! I ain't talking law! I'm talking you and me!
There was a character in the comics, Harvey Bullock, the kind of slobby detective character who'd been in the comics for about 10 years or so at the point that we did the show. We knew he would be a great foil for Commissioner Gordon, so we decided we'd draft him into our animated version.
There was no sign of forced entry here, so I'm figuring somebody must unlock the cages and look the other way.
We didn't want to make Bullock really a dirty cop, so we made him kind of a soiled cop, but not completely dirty. There is a small spark of goodness in the guy.
Nobody's sneaking in here tonight.
If I got in this easily, so will the Joker.
Hey, this is police business. Haul your bat butt out of here.
He really does believe that preserving the law is a cop's job, which leads him into conflict with Batman on numerous occasions. Like, what do we need the weirdo in the cape for when, you know, guys like me are out busting their butt to keep the streets clean?
Qué mala suerte.
Renee Montoya was a character that we had created for the series in order to diversify Batman's world a little bit.
Simmer down, party boys. You'll be out tomorrow morning.
I think it was interesting to have this really smart, hard-nosed female counter to Bullock, and again, yet another piece of competition for him.
I thought I told you to take the day off.
Leslie Tompkins is sort of the angel of mercy in Bruce Wayne's world. She was a friend of Bruce's parents, and she was there for Bruce the night that his parents were murdered.
Every year, Batman goes and deposits the bouquet of roses at the site where his parents were killed, and she's aware of that and keeps the appointment with him to go to that spot. She was a significant influence in Bruce Wayne's life, and somebody that he could share his secret with and that understood why he functioned the way he did.
Just a minor concussion, probably from the fall. Here, take one of these every 4 hours, though why I ever bother is beyond me. You never follow my instructions.
She's the closest thing Bruce Wayne will have to a motherly influence in his life. She knows that Bruce is Batman, and she knows that he has shouldered this burden to protect the city when Batman gets really hurt. The guy can't usually go to a hospital, so thank goodness Leslie Tompkins is there and she can administer some aid and comfort.
Catwoman, it's me.
Batman?
You're hot.
Now you notice.
I always think of Catwoman as the ultimate temptation in Batman's world. If anybody comes close enough to both Batman and Bruce Wayne as someone who could figure out both sides of his personality, it's Selina Kyle. Yet, she's a little too far into the darkness for him to completely embrace her. It's like there's a fine line between them, and they're both standing on either side, and they're kind of waving to each other, but she can't go totally into his world, and he knows if he goes completely into hers, he could never come back.
If you ever don your Catwoman costume again to violate the law, I'll not only revoke probation, I'll throw the book at you.
Batman's world is very black and white. And Catwoman clearly represents the gray. Clearly, she sees a greater good in the world, and sometimes you need to step into the gray to get to that.
Well, I'd like to think our relationship isn't just restricted to saving each other from freaks and weirdos, and that maybe we'd have a place for each other without Gotham, without the freaks, maybe without masks.
There's always a great temptation there. There's always a lot of wistfulness between the two of them. There's always a lot of longing and wondering what if it could happen. And they've been close, very close. But part of the curse of being Batman is that, whereas she is probably the perfect woman for him, she will always be just forever out of reach.
The cool thing about the environment, the universe that was created, was that we were allowed to explore different manifestations and different characters.
You got to have this supporting cast, around Batman, and it creates this interesting, colorful world and creates the world of contrast.
We didn't have to just have a cast of hundreds of nameless, useless characters that did nothing more than voice the dialogue. These characters added value to the history of Batman as we were trying to make it.